the community from the affected people upwards, and from the national level towards the communities. And I think from yesterday's discussion, we really did not go too much in it, but I'm happy that in the morning discussion, we did discuss structure. Information management is a cross-cutting issue, and every one of you contribute towards this whole process. The challenge is how all the information that you have is put together, collated, and put into various information products that will help in decision making and in time. Is very much time bound when it is within the first few weeks of the emergency. Generally, I'm just going to give a brief overview about the IM process before I get into discussing issues from the Information Working Group lessons learned. Information management is a process, and many times people look at it as a product, but it is actually a process. It starts from collecting, processing, analyzing, and then dissemination. Usually the dissemination, what is disseminated as products and issues is what you get, but it follows a huge process in getting the information. And the output is as good as the inputs and the process that went into it. So if we do not sort out the process, then it would be as good as that. The one thing that is very important is structure. It needs structure and clear guidelines. One of the two main things that the Information Working Group lessons learned came out with is that we should have a proper roles and responsibilities, guidelines and structure, and flow charts for information management as our key lessons learned. Today, because it's a broad topic, and we have a huge large number of people here, we have chosen to run this thing as this. To strengthen IM, we have decided on 3 key issues. One is the good data sets, the good input that goes into it. So we have our one category as titled as data preparedness. And of course, data preparedness is in preparedness before the disaster, and assessments, which is also we have to prepare for before disaster, but assessments get primary data or data when things happen. So we have a separate section which is most important in the IM or information thing as assessments as a separate category, which Alice will present later. Capacities and work, we need people and resources to work on it. So we have titled it under Information Working Group, which will discuss capacities and of course, products and services in time. And we realize these products and services has to be customized to situations, to how you need it, to your local context, to how communities need it, how provinces need it, and how national authorities need it, how different decision makers need it. So that's how we have structured the session. Now, we have just to start these discussions on, we want to present some issues as guiding questions, which will be also within our guiding questions when we'll present you as guiding questions when you start your discussions. The first one is regarding baseline data sets. The questions are, what data sets do we have? And I'll come to that a little bit later. What do we need? What can be shared? What is there but is not able to be shared? And what are the things, what are the hindrances, what are the constraints for data sharing? And most importantly, who will take responsibility for updating and maintaining these data sets? Because when disasters happen, we need data that is current. So updating the data where there's new new population information, new village information, new location information, new school information, how do these things sort of live? Also, related to this is all the tools and templates that we can put forward or make people aware of before the disaster. And of course, what else do we need? So those are the questions that we pose to you today. Just a little brief on that. We do think that things went well in that contest. Then we had a huge data sets from national statistics, which did get us started. It gave us information about the population, and national statistics also keeps area council boundaries and information, which got us started well. Of course, I know that the output that you got were maps, but I want to today acknowledge the fact that these outputs came from the national, from the data supplied by National Statistics Office and Department of Lands. And of course, the health and the education and other sectors that, yeah. Also, there were some existing forms and tools. There were clusters that were already trying to test out some new tools and forms that were already there. And we already had started the website, which was early days, but we had started. The needs identified in data, as I already mentioned, that we need data maintenance, we need up-to-date data. Place names physically has to be verified. We had our 3W process started on well, but we realized that the place names there needed a lot of attention. As I mentioned, data sharing is a big issue. And of course, there's lots of discussion on common repositories or how the data would be integrated and shared, and access to provincial level data and vice versa. Moving on to products, we did quite a lot of products, and I've tried to list them quickly. We had a website, we put out context lists, schedules, maps, baseline statistics, infographics, who does what where, provided support for the flash appeal, HAP, for the situation reports that went out, and any other cluster or sector-based advice, and support for assessments. Just showing some of the outputs that were done with NTMO. One of them was our humanitarian response website for the Vanuatuan, and we loaded all the information, we tried to load all information we got into the site for people to access. We were also the first country probably in the world to try out the new humanitarian ID function, which is a global system to manage contact lists. There is a lot of potential in this, and there is a lot of things that we can do with the working groups that give access to people to load the information and build onto the site in preparedness and response. Also, there were a lot of maps done, as I said, with the data provided by LENS and NSO. For people to plan the activities on the field. The 3W process, who does what where, which the clusters and the partners were filling, it was also transformed into maps. There were a lot of infographics done by various NGO and partners, which would provide information snapshots at that time. And of course, a lot of products were done for food distribution by partners. Also worked with the assessment groups, and we'll put on assessments when LS presents, to first plan out assessments. So we did infographics and maps to make sure that the assessment teams know where they're going and how they would plan the assessments. We did intensive timelines under from the information management team, and supported the collation of the assessment report. The questions that we pose today for products and services are, from your point of view, what products and services were useful and how they can be improved, And based on your experiences, as you all were involved in various issues in there, is how we can build more products or better products, or what else is needed to make a better response, and who will be responsible. Coming to the information working group, we did, the positive thing was that we did set up the information working group before the cyclone, but what happened is the cyclone came just shortly after, so the team did learn the hard way, but it was there, and it is to be strengthened further. The questions we posed is how we can work together, who should be in the working team. NGMO is lead. The proposal from the lessons learned was that NSO take the co-lead, because they manage a lot of data and they have a lot of experience on field, on getting information from the ground. I am focal point and commitment from agencies. Then we say which are the key roles for and responsibilities for IM working team. The ones that we identified in the working team is that we have to catalog resources and capacities, have clear guidelines, TORs and SOPs, and prepare. The IM working group is responsible to prepare, set up, and maintain the IM hub and the EOCs, respective EOCs. It has to link to the provincial EOCs also. And also, the main thing and the most talked about issue is how we build local IM specialties and capacities and sustain them. So it was related to keeping an IM roster for which we have people trained and ready to go and support during disasters. Of course, all of these things that I have said, including IM working group, has to have a very core role and guidelines for assessments and tools and how this would fit, because assessment forms the core part of information during disasters. So I leave to my colleague Alice, who would speak about assessments process and how we went there.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Rasmi, for the presentation. As Rasmi has mentioned, I will present on the assessment process and how it's been carried out during the DZIBA. Assessment process, it's a long process, as Rasmi has mentioned, and it takes a lot of time, especially in Vanuatu. Doing assessments, logistical arrangements is always difficult, and you always face the constraints and difficulties in Island. The information coming from communities and provinces that comes straight to the reception areas were also consolidated by NDMO. For the assessment, like people going out to do the assessment, it was done by VHD, provided a list of people, especially from the clusters they are coordinating, and looking after the people going to the assessment and returning back from assessment. And also OCHA, who came in to support NDMO and VHD with the assessment personnel. Also develop consolidate information, as Rashmi has mentioned, especially in information management. And this to do with the initial and rapid assessment. Here I just want to clarify a bit of assessment. Might ask, most of people has questioned why NDMO hasn't followed the stages that has been trained from the province and even the clusters down to the community level, the CDCs. So here, before the cyclone PAM, this is the practice we use as NDMO, and the initial community assessment is usually done by the CDCs and the provincial the provincial disaster committee and also the area secretaries, and then this information is forwarded to either the province or the NDMO. And during this time of DCPAM, we've seen that it was hard with the communication and as well as the logistic to the community. So we have to do the aerial surveillance as well as going down to the community level to do this initial assessment. For the rapid assessment, it's usually carried out by NDMO and the clusters with PhD partners. And this report is then compiled to the report and sent to NDC, which is the National Disaster Committee. And then we have the technical assessment, which is carried out by the clusters, and the report, this is developed into a report for the sector plans. So this is what happens before DCPAM and during our assessment process. During the DCPAM, and this is what happens during the DCPAM, we have the aerial surveillance or flyover, which is done by the Australian and French militaries who help the government to do the flyover. And then we have the Community Disaster Committee and area secretaries who also help to do the assessment for initial assessments. And then we have the provincial assessment, which is done by the provincial disaster committees. And all these assessments are coming into NDMO in different, like we talk about the structures, all these are thrown to NDMO. And also we have the initial assessment, which is done by the NDMO, PhD, UNDAC, you can name them clusters. So we also do the initial assessment, and then we come up to do the rapid assessment, and that's done by the clusters and UNDAC. And then we have the detailed technical assessments, which some of the clusters or even the sectors has carried out, like the telecommunications, utilities, agriculture, and waste and infrastructure. And I think there's more that has went out to do that technical detail assessment for their plannings. And is it the drones? I have put a question mark. I've heard of this word, and I think they must. Some people have knowledge of this drones, so that's another form of assessment that has been done. For the information consolidation, we have the community provincial assessment that went straight to the NDMO database. And this database was just created during the time of assessment, and it was used the initial assessment form to create this Excel database. So the database, actually no one has the understanding of using this database, so we just tried our best to fill in this database, and we have to use the students from APDC to fill up this database using the initial assessments coming from the communities. And we have the initial assessment and rapid assessment also went to OCHA and PhD assessments for the reporting. And then we have the technical and detailed assessment that went to the clusters for the sector plans and reporting. For the challenges that we faced, the coordination process of assessment, we found that it was difficult for us to coordinate the assessment, as it was all people trying to collect, or organization trying to go out in the field to collect their own assessment, and it was a bit difficult for NDMO to go to coordinate all the assessment groups that going out to the field and the informations that coming into the NDMO, and as well as the methodology and consistency across the assessment forms makes it so difficult for us that I've already said. This database was created overnight, and we were supposed to use that, and well, no one has the knowledge in going to that back to that Excel database to get the information from this database. And also with the methodology, we used PhD partners to go out to do the assessment. I guess the coordination and bringing people to the airport and going to the islands and returning back, it was a bit constraint for us NDMO staff. And the operational issues with getting trained people on assessment. We've trained a lot of people in the national level, provincial level, and even the CDCs as well as the area secretaries to carry out this assessment. But somehow, from our clusters, we get some people that hasn't been trained to carry out this assessment. And this also was one of our difficulties, that people using our forms and are not being trained to use these forms. And it is one of our failures that we just throw in the invitations for our clusters to bring in people, and then we haven't really asked them to really identify people that has been trained in our assessment forms. So I think in the future we'll try and better coordinate the people going out to carry out our assessments. As well as the logistic constraints, getting people to the island. I guess some of people has been complaining, why are you getting me early in the morning? I don't carry my food and clothes, whatever, to the islands. It was a bit difficult. We understand the situation in Vanuatu, as the Torba people have come up with their concern about the traveling arrangements and so forth. This is the difficulties we face also with the logistic, getting people to the islands. And also provincial, I guess the provincial officers and even the CDCs felt that they were left out during the assessment process. And this is because we're going down to the community and then we're sort of not working together, not working together with the province, going to the communities to collect the information, or even the CDCs are there, but we're sort of trying to grab our information as quickly as we want, and then we forgot about these people, that they got something in their hands ready to hand over to you, and then we just walk away. So I think that's where they felt that they are left out with the assessments, and yeah, with the assessments when we go down to the communities. And then timeliness as also part of this, the community or the CDCs felt that they are not part of this because the timeliness, we have to get the information as quickly as we want and get it back for the reportings and planning and so forth. So I think that's all for my presentations. I guess you all have some questions for me, but we don't have so much time for that. We'll have more discussions in the exercise as we go along through the exercise we'll do this morning. And thank you all for attention.
We will now move into our group discussion session, and sorry.